This episode of Horror Movie Talk is brought to you by Detachable Penis. Does your penis get you in trouble at night? Are you worried about your penis going unused and depreciating in value over time? Well, maybe you should consider converting to a detachable penis. It comes in handy a lot of the time. You can leave it at home when you think it's going to get you in trouble, or you can rent it out when you don't need it. Visit detachablepenis.com to learn more.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes.
Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce first big tits.
Mistletoe alert.
This is backcountry. This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Ugo be pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, she's such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso.
Horror.
Chomp, 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 everybody. It's me, Bryce Hanson, and you're listening to Horror Movie Talk. With me along for the ride is Max and Sydney. Say hello, kids.
Hey.
We're getting back to our roots. We review horror movies now. So new theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. The full video is available on YouTube. Don't be a square. Make sure to share. And since I'm pretty sure it highlights the buttons when I say this specifically, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like the video and ring that bell. I think that makes the buttons highlight.
And if you
Also-
don't like the video, don't come back. I mean
Yeah,
it.
don't thumbs down it. Don't be a dickhole, just move on. You've got better things in your life than to downvote Horror Movie Talk. If you don't like the show, it's not for you. Just move on. Please leave us a 5-star review. I'm begging you. Also, check out patreon.com/horrormovietalk. It's the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. All sorts of bonus content to view there. If you want to add your P to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail, because you might hear your voice on the famous podcast Horror Movie Talk, like you will today. We're going to check our voicemail today, so stay tuned. We've got a great show today. Back at our roots. We're all belching all the time, and I might shit my pants, so you never know. We'll be reviewing Lisa Frankenstein today. I've got the Lisa Frank design behind me today in honor of that famous brand, I guess, which I wasn't aware of until my wife told me. But,
Really?
Apparently that's what this is called. I just thought it was girl shit,
I
just
had Lisa
unicorns and
Frank
rainbows.
coloring books. I loved that shit. It's awesome.
We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. So if you haven't seen Lisa Frankenstein in the theaters yet and you don't want it spoiled, you can press pause on the podcast and come back later. We'll make sure to tell you when we're going to get into spoilers. And then later on, like I said, we'll be doing our bit Horror Movie Whores, where we listen to our voicemail from, our fans and obsessives.
And David.
And people that just can't leave the podcast alone, with the initials DD. All right, let's hop in. Lisa Frankenstein can be found in theaters now. It's set in the late 80s. Lisa is the weird new girl in school dealing with the grief of her mother's death and life in a new family with a wicked stepmother and kind of nice yet condescending stepsister. She spends her free hours talking to herself and pining for love in the Bachelor cemetery, which is totally a thing in this universe. She has the hots for the editor of the school newspaper, and while chatting with him at a party, she drinks a spiked drink and goes on a psychedelic trip during a thunderstorm. And if you know 80s logic, thunderstorms mean magic. The lightning resurrects Lisa's favorite grave resident, unbeknownst to her. From there, it's the age-old tale of the goth girl that keeps the reanimated corpse in the friend zone while they murder people for parts. You know, that old chestnut. So my take is that Lisa Frankenstein is a mess, but it's a really fun mess. As of recording, it sits at a solid 50% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, and I'm honestly not surprised. I predicted that this one would be divisive, but could ultimately become a cult classic from its bizarre, campy charm. The premise feels straight from the early filmography of Tim Burton, but unlike Burton, the freshman director Zelda Williams struggles with keeping a consistent style and tone throughout the film. Her background is in music videos, and it really shows in some of the narrative style of the movie, which relies heavily on visual shorthand more than hard-earned character development and cause and effect scenarios. The script, written by Diablo Cody of Juno and Jennifer's Body fame, is the highlight of the film. It taps into a level of snarky and campy humor rarely seen outside of 80s teen rom-coms. Like her other scripts, this one features sharp dialogue and amusing non-sequiturs from supporting characters that makes the world fun to watch and feels lived in. The acting is great. Catherine Newton, who plays Lisa, shifts from weird nerd to self-assured goth murderess with aplomb. Cole Sprouse does great with comedic timing as the mute creature. Lisa Soberano walks the line between condescension and likability well as the stepsister. And Carla Gugino, which you might recognize from a lot of Mike Flanagan shows, she is the best at bringing the appropriate amount of camp to the role of the stepmother. The main flaw of the movie is its disjointed tone and the arbitrariness of the plot. It would have been nicer to have more effort put into the setups for the major plot shifts and character changes. Without properly establishing cause and effect, the movie can feel a little confusing or arbitrary at times. But here's the thing. With all the nitpicks that I could pick at, I was smiling and chuckling throughout the whole movie. I thought it was a blast, and I give it a lot of points for originality. It's one of those weird, like, uncanny valley 80s feels. Like it's similar to Sleepaway Camp in like the tone and like the mix of like supreme camp mixed with like a very, very serious premises and stuff. And there's a lot of like comparisons to other 80s movies that is pretty heavily borrowed from, so like Heathers and Edward Scissorhands, that kind of stuff.
Oh my god, that's what I said when we left the movie last night. I was like, it's like Heathers meets Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah.
Like, exactly.
Wow.
So I mean it's definitely kind of an oddity of a film, but I mean we need more of these. Like I'd rather watch 10 of these than another Conjuring sequel.
And they're making another one. I just heard
are
about
they?
that. Oh yeah.
That's great. So I mean you guys were shaking your heads. You weren't agreeing with my criticisms, which I think are valid, but you might
Not
be pleased
valid,
at my
but
score.
okay.
I give it a score of 8 out of 10.
Okay.
I really
All right.
like the movie.
All right.
I mean, that's a good
fair.
score. It's not good enough, but it's good.
It is a really interesting movie. It has its flaws, but I think it's better to have like supreme ambition and not pull it off than try to play it safe 100% of the time. So what do you guys think?
I was like looking for things to not like about this movie, especially because you texted me beforehand and been like, oh, this is going to be a divisive one. And so I was like looking for something that would like turn me off from it. But it was delightful. I had a wonderful time. I went with my wife. We were both laughing the whole time. I just didn't, I kept thinking like, what more do you want from a movie like this? It's dare I say perfect. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
Wow. High praise. Sydney, what did you think?
Yeah, so I mean, I also agree. Like, since you were like, oh, this is going to be divisive, the 50% of Rotten Tomatoes really got me. I was like, I wonder what this is going to be. So me and my friend went last night to see it, and we were dying laughing. We were like hitting each other and like laughing the whole time. The whole theater was laughing. I loved the style, the bright colors and the music like was great for like the 80s aesthetic. Like there were some really funny jokes that were reminiscent of Jennifer's Body. Like Diablo Cody really killed it. I thought it was like kind of like a fucked up Cinderella story in a way, with like the evil stepmother and like, the prince to come and save her, which is like a dead guy. And I don't know, I think Cole Sprouse did amazing at not talking until the very, very end, and it was an outstanding role. And what's her name? The main girl, she was phenomenal. I haven't seen her in much, but I thought she did a great job at acting. I think everyone was like so funny. It kind of reminded me of like Wet Hot American Summer, how outrageous it was. And yeah, I went back and forth about it last night, but as I kept reflecting about it, I think it's also perfect, and I would watch this like every day. Like it's honestly one of those movies that I could watch every day and not get sick of. So 10 out of 10 from me too.
Yeah. Well, there it is. Like I really liked it, but there was, from like a storytelling aspect, there were some kind of loose ends that were there that are like just leave you feel a little unsatisfied, or it's one of those things where it's like what it's trying to do and it just does it without having to worry about spoon feeding it to you, which I respect. And there's a lot of shorthand, but there's a couple little tweaks that I think would put it at 10 for me, but regardless, it's a really fun movie. And just like the criticisms of it that I've seen on Rotten Tomatoes are similar to the ones that I bring up, but I think they're like more snooty and like not letting themselves have fun when it's like there's some minor flaws to it. I think overall it's great. My experience in the theater was probably a little different because I went on Thursday at 5 p.m.
Oh, wow.
For West Coast. And so there was 3 other people in the theater with me. I think there was a couple in the back row and then like an old guy up front that probably just lives at the movie theater. And there was not a peep out of them. Like they had zero reaction to it. And I was chuckling and laughing throughout the whole thing. Like I had a blast, but I could tell like it's similar to Jennifer's Body. Like a lot of people rag on Jennifer's Body, and like when I watched it, I'm like, I don't get it. What's wrong with this movie? It's fun. It's great. Like what's the problem? And it becomes a cult classic, and I think that's going to be it in this case because I haven't seen it advertised a lot. Like I haven't seen it anywhere. I think the only place I really saw it was when I go and search on Fandango for new releases that are horror movies. Like it's never. And if there's anyone it's gonna be in their feed, like I get shoved every single horror project down my throat from my algorithms just because that's what I watch on streaming platforms all the time. And I don't remember seeing the trailer for it outside of me searching for it.
I only saw the trailer at the movie theater. Like, that was the only time, like, I think the last couple of times that we've gone to the movies.
Right. That's true.
That was the only time I saw it advertised, and I was like, this looks good. But, like, I thought it was something, like, totally different. I thought that, like, we'll get into it more in spoilers, but I thought that she purposely, like, dug him up and revived him. I thought that I thought that was what it was going to be, but I was surprised, and I liked the silly way that they did it instead. And I think that was really fun and inventive. And it's just one of those movies where it kind of comes out of left field, and you're like, wow, this was like a pleasant surprise. Like, it's not another fucking Night Swim. I know I bring this up all the time, but it's just it was so bad. But like, it's not another one of those horror movies that comes out and it's some dumb sequel that, like, or it's like some franchise that they're trying to keep going and it just sucks. Like, it's like, here's a fresh look on, like, and it's like kind of scary, but not really. It's like, oh, there's gore, but it's not like terrifying, and that's kind of like what Jennifer's Body is too. Like, you're not really scared throughout it, you're more laughing, but it's still considered a horror movie. And I don't know, I just thought, I think it will be a cult classic, and I think there will be people who don't understand it. Like, I think it's like a movie for the girls, and I don't even mean it in like a gendered way, just like, this is a girls' movie. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, that is the thing. Like, going into it, or even seeing the trailer, you assume a lot of what the plot would be just from, like, if you're going to write a spec script from the title Lisa Frankenstein, and even just say, like, she's in love with a dead body. Like, it writes itself. And I think that's what's fun about Diablo Cody's perspective is it's like, yeah, it's not predictable. It's like it shows like a level of teenage brain of like not noticing that there's a guy available, and you're like, no, but I like this other guy. It's like it's fun. You know, it's not fun. Commercials, kids. Commercials are not fun, and you should know you don't have to listen to commercials when you listen to Horror Movie Talk. You just have to pony up a little bit. If you go to patreon.com/horrormovietalk and sign up for the, what is it, the too spoopy for you tier. I can't remember the names.
Get to know your own Patreon, why don't you?
Yeah, well, Max, shut up. At a certain tier, you get early access to episodes without ads, so check us out there. Also, support the show by going to horrormovietalk.com/shop. And please show your appreciation for our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks so hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans. Contact him at dgoebel00 on Instagram.com and make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him HMT sent you. This is audio that I received from Dustin Goebel fucking hard. Yeah,
hold on, Bryce. Hold on. There's something about what's going on. Your voice sounds great. The drops and the music so loud.
Yeah.
So loud.
Okay, I'll turn it down. My bad.
That sounded like that was in this room.
Well, I don't think it was right here. Someone was screaming in my ear.
Okay, let's check this. How about now? All right.
Okay, it's better.
You know,
a little bit.
What can you do?
I'm gonna go deaf.
If I turn this down, can you hear me?
Yeah.
At all?
I can hear you fine.
Sound the same.
Okay, I don't know where. Okay, I gotta figure out what the routing is on this board.
Where is the sound coming from?
How about this one? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, whatever. This is dumb. Thanks for listening. Let's get into spoilers. Okay. Having issues with the mixer. It's so... Yeah. Anyways. I think you guys are just too quiet. I think that's what the problem is. It's not my fault.
Okay.
I mean, maybe.
Look at my microphone. It's in my mouth.
You know, excuses. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the volume is like almost at the bottom on the faders. Is it? I don't know. It's just like whatever. Who cares? All right, let's talk about Lisa Frankenstein. So it starts out with like these animated credits that kind of tells the story of the creature of his life before dying. And
I thought that was amazing because like instead of like actually having Cole Sprouse like act it out and adding like 10 minutes to the movie, they're like, here's this fucking story in 30 seconds, like this is what you get. I thought this movie was like the perfect length, an hour and a half. We got to bring back hour and a half long movies, man.
Oh yeah,
we really do.
For sure.
We really do. Like, I love me a long movie. You know this. You know that I love the 3-hour fucking, like, sit there for a whole night. But, like, this was perfect because we got out of the theater at 9 o'clock, and I was like, let's get some fucking Chinese food. Let's hang out. Like, it was good.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like, where everything is 2 hours or more, especially with like horror movies, it's like, it's just don't, you don't need that much time.
No,
unless I think there's a Roger Ebert quote where it's like, a good movie is never long enough and a bad movie can't be short enough. It's
exactly.
And so, like in this case, like I would have been fine for another 20 minutes of the movie, but it's very efficient and I appreciate that. So it shows, kind of the story of this guy that died and shows you that he was buried in a bachelor cemetery, which
just so funny.
It's so good.
I'm like, okay, so it's just a cemetery of bachelors from the early. When would this be?
I think he died
So,
in
like,
like 1887 or something. I think that's what it said.
Which I love, and Lisa is shown, or eventually like talks about how she goes to this bachelor cemetery to, just be by herself and talk and to the gravestones because they don't talk back, and she's just kind of this weird goth girl. But I love the idea of like late 1800s bachelor. Like, I feel like that means something different than what it means today. If there's a bachelor cemetery of confirmed bachelors from the 1800s, I'm like, honey, like, these guys are not for you. I'm sorry. Like, I know it sounds like a romantic concept, but they're not looking for love from you, Lisa. I think, I hate to break it to you, but all these bachelors in this grave, in the cemetery, are gay. I'm sorry.
But she's not really going there because she finds it romantic. She goes there because she's weird and likes death and says that she would rather be dead with them than alive in the world.
Yeah, I like how they handle it because it's not. You'd assume it'd be like, oh, she fell in love with this, face on this gravestone, and there's a little bit of that where she's kind of enamored, but how she explains it is more like she feels like everyone should be remembered, that she has kind of been exposed to death because her mother was murdered by a literal axe murderer,
basically in front of her,
and so she's a little off kilter when it comes to death, and it's a lot closer to her as a teenager than most teenagers. But yeah, she explains it more as like she just kind of feels sorry for him, and doesn't feel like they should be forgotten. Everyone has a story, kind of thing, and they don't talk back. So, and we're shown she tells this to her stepsister, which is a really interesting character because, again, it's not cookie cutter. It's not like what you would expect, because her stepsister is really nice, and
she's trying to acclimate Lisa to her new school and trying to be like, hey, like, come out with me. Hey, this blush isn't your shade. Let me help you get ready. Let me borrow my clothes. Like, I want you to go to this party with me. Like, it'll be fun. You need to didn't your doctor tell you need to socialize? Which was like a hilarious line. Like, she is a really nice person, and she is nice to Lisa. Like, that is a definite. But she's also really bitchy, which is like a great overlay. Like,
well, I think she's just like kind of dumb, and so she doesn't realize that some of the things she says are like really rude, but she's trying to help her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she comes off as like very nice and trying to be helpful, but also very condescending.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, honey, you don't understand. Like, you want to be one of the pretty ones like me, you know? And it's not. And she's like treating her like an equal, which is interesting, but also just very accidentally condescending to Lisa, and Lisa is kind of long suffering about it. But I think I saw an interview with what's her name? Something. Her last name's Sobelman, or something like that. Lisa Soberano. So she's the one that plays the stepsister. I saw an interview with her, and she put it really well, which was basically like, she's a really nice person, but she's also her mother's daughter, and there's a little bit of that she can't escape, because
I'm an
mother,
IP, or what was it?
Yeah, I think it was IP. Intuitive person.
Intuitive person.
Yeah,
So
I'm an intuitive
good.
person. IP. Or no, it was IP, intuitive person. Yeah, so her her stepmother is a real bitch, like really, like over the top, kind of middle-aged mean girl, you know, and just like very, very much wicked stepmother vibes, and casually threatens to throw her in an insane asylum, you know, at any given moment, from minor inconveniences like having her, you know, treasured memory. What are those called? Those little tchotchkes?
What, the Hummels?
Yeah, it's something memories.
Is it Precious?
Precious memories.
Yeah, her precious memories dolls.
Oh, so
like
good.
one of them gets broken, and she's like, "All right, she's psycho. She needs to go onto the psychiatry ward.
She's ruining our perfect home."
It's like, Mom, you're a psych nurse. You should not call it the loony bin.
Yeah, it's great. I mean,
And
just very much like Nurse Ratched. It's like, oh, this person just looks down upon everyone that needs her help the most. So yeah, it's interesting that stepsister character is, you know, she's really nice and helpful, but also she's been raised by kind of a narcissist.
Yeah. 100% a narcissist, because when she's reprimanding Lisa, she's like, I took you in with open arms after your mom got fucking axe murdered in the face and died, and it was so gross and bloody, and you saw all of it, and you should be more grateful to me, but you should also stop being a fucking bitch. And Lisa's like, I don't really know how to respond.
Yeah.
Well, did you notice that when she was like cleaning the house, she was listening to an audiobook about dealing with narcissists, and it's just like explaining her personality to her, but
She's,
she
like,
thinks it's about
nodding.
Lisa.
Yeah, it's great.
Also, fun fact, Zelda Williams, who directed this, is the daughter of Robin Williams.
Yeah, I knew that. Yeah,
I did
it's
not know that.
she's a nepo baby, you know, relying on her father to get her this job.
I mean,
But hey,
you know,
sometimes it works out.
Sometimes it
Yeah.
does. Sometimes it does.
Yeah, one thing that I saw, especially, so like skipping forward a little bit, so we're introduced to the stepsister and Lisa and kind of the whole family, and then what is her stepsister's name? Taffy. So Taffy takes Lisa
awesome name.
to this party, this rager, and you know, she's chatting with her in the car and asking her like who she has the hots for, and Lisa reveals that the editor of the school paper is really hot, and turns out he's a dreamboat. Like I would.
He kind of looked like Cole Sprouse a little bit.
Yeah, he did. He was very close. And that was one of my favorite lines in the car ride there. She's like, because Taffy's like, so he's not a baseball player or like football, not even like a manager or anything. It's like, no, he's cerebral. And she's like in a wheelchair?
I died laughing.
Yeah, that was one of the funniest lines in the whole movie.
There was like such good lines, like, oh my god. But you know when they flash to like the moment that Lisa's mom is killed, I think it's around the same time. My friend leaned over to me and like, you know, we weren't really sure what kind of movie it was going to be at this point because we had just started it. And my friend leaned over to me and she was like, oh, do you think that the dad killed the mom and was like the mass killer? Mm-hmm. And like, I mean, obviously that wasn't like a point in the movie and it didn't really matter. But I mean, I think it's kind of funny to like speculate that person, the dad character, could have done something like that. I think it he was really hyped about his new family. Like, he really loved them and didn't really give a fuck about Lisa.
And he moved on really fast. It was like, what, 6 months after his wife died, he was married?
That, like, we were like, oh, if it was that fast, then I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the loose ends that I thought was like, if this was a predictable movie, they're going to go back to that axe murdering scene. And that axe murderer is going to be someone. Like, it's it's either going to be, I predicted that it was going to be Michael Trent, the paper editor, like her love interest, because that would have like been very love triangle, you know, a good love triangle solution, which is like, oh, he murdered your mom. Well, I guess he wasn't a good guy after all. You can go fuck your corpse. That was the obvious one for me, but it just left as nothing. It's just like, it just happened, and it's not related to the story other than that's how her mom died. Like, even in IMDb, there's like it has the actor that played the axe murderer, Luke Sexton, and he's just the axe murderer. It's not, you know, he's not in any of the rest of the film.
Yeah, and I think that's something that like Diablo Cody kind of did in Jennifer's Body too. There was a lot of like these offhand comments that you thought like were going to come back, and it just really didn't. It's just something that happens in the movie that like you know, like the cop, like in the beginning of Jennifer's Body, what's his, you know, that Chris Pratt, like you think like more of his story is going to come back, and it like just doesn't matter because she's like, he took my backdoor virginity, and it's just like, that's it. And like it's just like it's stuff like that. So it's like it was just kind of one of those, just like, here's a ridiculous, crazy, awful thing that happened. We're just gonna drop that in, and that's why Lisa's a fucking weirdo. Like, valid. Valid. But yeah, we should keep going.
I mean, that is kind of like high school teen logic, where it's like, oh yeah, Donald, yeah, his you know, his stepdad is in prison for being a pedophile. It's like, okay, is that anything? No, it's just everyone knows that, and that's just part of this whole story, you know, the life in the high school. So Lisa, her mom was murdered by an axe murderer. Let's move on.
There's another important thing that we should probably mention that happens early on, which is Taffy has a tanning bed that she won at like a pageant or something.
It was like Miss Hawaiian Beach. Yeah.
No, Miss Hawaiian Tropic, which is a suntan lotion.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. So but the important part to remember is that the tanning bed is broken. It like zaps you when you try to get a tan. So
because Taffy like offers Lisa to use her tanning bed because she's really pale, and then she promptly gets electrocuted by the tanning bed. Actually,
really,
you know, if
sorry.
David was here, he would pipe up because it's not electrocuted. She's alive. She got shocked. Right. Electrocuted means
you're dead.
Cause of death. Yeah. Anyway, so she goes to this party, and she you know, has an encounter with this guy she has the hots for, and then, you know,
and he has a goth friend.
Yeah,
who I forget her name, but she sucks, and she's really mean, and she's a big bully. And and she's the one that comes up and is like, "Hey, what's his name, Michael or something?" She's like, "Hey, do you want some of this drink?" And he's like, "Ugh, what'd you put in there?" And then they offer it to Lisa, and Lisa's like, "No." And then the girl's like, "Are you a pussy or something?" And then Lisa drinks the entire thing, and it ends up being PCP.
Yeah.
Which is like, holy shit, like, what's going on right now?
I actually wanted to bring this up because that is one of the most horrifying things that I think could ever happen. Like, that is one of my biggest fears, is accidentally doing a bunch of drugs that my body is not ready for and having a horrifying experience.
It is scary. Like, that would be very terrifying. And it is
like,
terrifying for Lisa, like, definitely.
The dread that would set in when someone's like, "Hey, you know that was laced with PCP, right?" Like, I would be like, "Oh my gosh, I need to throw up right now or I'm going to, like, freak out."
Yeah, but I mean, she had no time to think about it, and then you're already fucked up off drugs, so you're not really thinking logically. So
yeah, I think Tom Segura has a bit on the dangers of drugs. How they always, when you're a teenager, warn you that like beware of strangers like offering you drugs or drugging you, without your know-how, without your knowledge. And he's like, no. It's not going to be strangers. It's going to be your friends. And, there's no stranger that's kind enough that's just going to give you their drugs, It's like, I never had
Well, true.
But
I
wasn't
guess it
at
depends
any
on
cool
what they
parties.
want to do to you afterwards, but...
That's true. Yeah. I mean, women probably have a lot more probability of getting drugged than men, but,
Yeah. My
who knows?
college, full of those kind of men.
Oh,
Full of
jeez.
it. Frat guys at UMass Amherst. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Honestly, most colleges are probably full of those guys. Yeah.
Anyone out there thinking of visiting UMass Amherst, don't go to Phi Sig. I don't know if it's still there, but they are terrible men. They're terrible, horrible men. And I stand by that to this day.
Shots fired. All right. So yeah, she gets drugged with PCP, which, I'm notorious for not knowing drugs, but apparently it's some kind of hallucinogenic. And she goes on like this hallucinogenic trip. And this
She
is
gets
where
sexually
like
assaulted.
yeah, like there's a guy. Yeah, this is another like great character moment, which is like, oh, it's the nice kind of
Like nerdy.
kind of McLovin
Yeah.
character that's like, oh, I'm sorry, let's go in this room and keep you safe. And then all of a sudden his hand's on her boob. He's like, you like that? She's like, no. And he's doing the whole like, oh, come on, baby, don't lead me on. When
And
he's
it's like, you took a girl who couldn't even stand up into a room and try to get her to touch you. Like, you're a piece of shit.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That part made me feel really sad, but you know what line is just so funny? When he's holding back her hair and he's like, "Man, your hair feels like Easter grass."
Yeah.
That was really good.
My other favorite line is when he leads her into the room. She just says, "It smells like camp in here," which is like, holy shit, I know exactly what smell she's talking about. Where it's like, you walk into a musty like cabin and it's just got that like old person smell.
And it kind of like smells like wet grass a little bit too. You're
Right. You're like, oh wow. Yeah, I could totally smell that room as they were going into it.
4D experience.
So she goes on a trip, and then this is where like it's really cut like a music video. Like it's the transitions and stuff. It's communicating that it's like a trip, but also it really feels like a music video. And when I looked up Zelda Williams' background, it's like her background is in music video, so it's like, oh, okay, well that makes sense. I guess she did music videos for JoJo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Get out right now. It's the end of you and me. I'm a
what else
singer,
did she
guys.
do?
I don't know JoJo.
Really? She was iconic. Her first hit single was Get Out when she was 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right? I'm pretty sure.
Child prodigy.
Yeah.
JoJo. And also JoJo did the I Can't Fight This Feeling cover in this movie.
Oh, that's who that was.
Yeah.
Nice. I thought that was a great comedic timing song when they used it. It was great.
I'm assuming we're not talking about JoJo Siwa.
No.
I'm honestly really relying on you kids to tell me who these people are.
JoJo Siwa? Come on. She was on Dance Moms. She has that high ponytail and she's like crazy and she's wears all neon colors and she talks really fast and then she came out as a lesbian, so now she's like a LGBTQ icon. Like come on.
So I work in a first grade classroom, and last year I was working in a kindergarten classroom. And so last year the kids had an assignment to write what they wanted to be when they grow up. And one girl wrote JoJo Siwa, and we couldn't figure out who JoJo Siwa was, and so we were all really confused. And in the confusion, she assumed that we were telling her like that was an invalid thing to want to be, and she started crying, and she was just saying like, "I just wanted to be JoJo Siwa."
The poor
it was kind of funny, but
it's like. Well, then your answer should have been, yeah, you can't be another person, idiot.
Well, she could be a famous dancer and singer if she really tried hard enough. But
Sure,
she
there
has
you
to
go.
start now for the dancer stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when this thunderstorm and also PCP trip is happening, she ends up very music video-like, very stylistically. She just ends up in the Bachelor's gravesite cemetery thing, and she screams down at Cole Sprouse's grave and is like, "I wish I was there with you," and she means like, "I wish I was in the ground dead and not living life anymore." And the next day he shows up at the house, but you don't know it's him because he's covered in mud and gross, and so she's throwing all the shit at him, and she's like, "Oh my god, get out of here!" And then the sprinklers turn on, and that's when like he gets cleaned off, and then she recognizes him from the bust that's on the grave, and is like, "Oh my god, are you?"
She's like, "Oh my gosh, are you Cody from The Sweet Life of Jack and Cody?" Zach and Cody. Yeah, this is another. I didn't know who Cole Sprouse was at all. I had to look it up on
What?
IMDb.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
I watched every episode of Sweet Life.
Me too. Great show.
yeah. I did not. I didn't know about it. From what I gather, he's like your generation's what's it called? The shit. What are those sisters from Full House?
Oh, the Olsen twins?
Yeah, the Olsen twins. It's like
I
Zach and
guess.
Cody were basically like the Olsen twins for your generation.
See, I love Cole and Dylan Sprouse because they just seem like regular guys. Cole is in freaking 5 Feet Apart, that dumb movie that my wife made me watch. He's in Riverdale, which is also a terrible show that I've seen a full season of.
Show.
The writing is so bad on that show, I can't believe it. And then I think it's Cole who did a podcast where they like do a storytelling of one of my favorite online stories, Baraska. And we're going to have to talk about Baraska at some point because it is an incredible story. And I haven't heard his version of it, but I really want to because I think it'd be incredible.
Is it
Also,
like
Dylan Sprouse is married to Barbara Palvin, who was a Victoria's Secret angel. So both of these twins.
You're just saying gibberish at this point.
Okay, all
for
right.
me. So anyways, like I didn't really know who Cole Sprouse was, but I'll tell you what, he does great in this movie and is really fantastic. He's got great comedic timing, physical comedy, and like it's very he said in interviews that he worked with a mime to like figure out the movements, and it shows. Like it's very very silent movie acting, and he does it really well because he communicates a lot through his eyes and his look and his physicality in a really impressive way. And so yeah, he shows up and he's basically like just a bog monster at the beginning, and I love the logic of it. She's just like, she doesn't freak out as much as, you know, anyone actually would. She's like, okay, well, this is my life now, stay in my closet and we'll move on, you know. And everything happens like so fast in the movie, like you don't realize like everything that happens from that point on is like the next 2 or 3 days. It's not like a long period of time. But
yeah,
so yeah,
she like gets him cleaned up. He like takes a shower. She gets him like dressed in like normal clothes, and he shows her that his ear is missing, and his hand is missing, and something else is missing that we will not find out until later. But so his goal, he's like wants her to help him get an ear and a hand, and she's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do about that? Like, I don't know how to get you an ear and a hand. Like, I can't just get that shit for you. So that day, right, is the day that he ends up, that other day, the next day is the day he ends up killing the stepmom, right?
Yeah, it's something like that. The next, because he appears at night. Is it that night?
Yeah, it's
okay, so she comes back from the party. Yeah, she comes back from the party at night, and then the next day he appears at night.
Yeah.
And then the next day the stepmother's killed, I think.
Yeah, well, she's supposed to go out of town, but she's feeling sick because, well, she says it's because there was a worm in her food. The corpse walked downstairs one day and just dropped a worm in her bowl and walked back up.
She didn't even eat it, so she's not sick. She's just thinking that Lisa is doing this and wants to send Lisa away, basically.
Well, it was in her mouth. I'd be pissed off, too.
Yeah,
so.
that's gross. Yeah.
That's kind of
but
funny,
she also
though. Like,
blames
if your kids
Lisa, which is weird because, like, you scooped out the cottage cheese, you know, into the bowl. Like, it's your fault for not noticing a worm at that point. You know, whatever. So anyways, like, yeah, that it's a big shift because the stepmother is freaking out at Lisa, accusing her of not only breaking all these things and like putting a worm in her food, and she's threatening to send her off, and then the creature creeps up from behind her and just knocks her in the head and kills her immediately, and then cuts off her ear. She's like, all right, we'll just use this. And Lisa's, again, not freaking out as much as you would expect a normal person to. It's like,
well, she hates her stepmom, and she's a little tapped from what happened to her, so she's kind of just accepting things that are happening. And so
yeah, it's a very campy reaction of just like, okay, well, I guess we better just bury this body and sew this ear on you and move on.
Yeah, before the stepmom comes in the room, I really loved her. The stepmom's name is Janet, and I really loved that Lisa goes, "Damn it, Janet," like Rocky Horror, and I thought that was I was the only one that laughed in the theater at that moment. But yeah, so it's also set up a little bit earlier that Lisa works at dry cleaners where they do alterations, so she's a really good seamstress. So she sews the ear back onto what's his name, and but it doesn't work. So
until they use the suntan or the what's it called?
Tanning bed. Yeah, I thought that was a great
device,
for like the Frankenstein's like table that he raises up in the original. I just think it's a cool replacement that they used.
Yeah, so that happens and she moves on, and then there's like the other thing that the creature does for her is he's also just has fantastic style because he styles her in her own clothes and
she
her
looks
stepsister's
awesome.
clothes. And she goes from being I mean, she didn't look awful. I mean, she looked stylish for the 80s, but then she goes into like full-on goth queen, like,
incredible.
She looks amazing.
Just tapping into the spirit of Stevie Nicks and Madonna combined, and just appears at school, and everyone's like, holy shit, it's a goth goddess.
I also love the line where she's like playing music and she's like, this is Taffy's station, but I also have the cure, and he like lifts up his stump and she goes, no, not that cure, they cure you emotionally.
Yeah.
It's like, so good. It's so good.
Also, there's a good line when it talks about her working at the dry cleaning place, and her boss comes in, and
they're talking about the guy she's got the hots for, and she's like, oh yeah, I didn't think she'd have a chance, since she's so flat-chested.
Yeah. It's so great.
Yeah, that's a very like, it's the same thing as like kind of Rainn Wilson in Juno, where it's like just such a off-kilter character. Like, why is this person being so casual around these teens? Like, sometimes there are those people. Yeah, that was a great line too. I love Cole Sprouse's performance. Like, it really reminded me, especially early on, from when he's more of a bog monster. It's very much moves like the Edgar from Men in Black, from the original Men in Black. Have you guys seen that?
I've never seen Men in Black.
I saw it when I was like 6.
Oh man,
I went on the ride at Universal Studios in Florida.
No, there's
aliens. It's pretty fun.
Great performance by Vincent D'Onofrio. No, is that right?
Is that the guy who's taken over by the alien?
Yeah.
I remember being freaked out by that.
Yeah, so I mean, go back if you want to watch like a really great physical performance. Go back and watch Men in Black, and just watch Vincent D'Onofrio's character in that. It really reminded me in this movie. So yeah, and then it moves on and it shifts gears to where like Lisa is more of a accomplice and then more of like a cheerleader for all the murders that start happening, because the next murder, which is the next day, she brings that guy that tried to sexually assault her, and brings him to the creature, and specifically to murder him for his hand, which is interesting.
Which I think is great, number one, because you think that, so she like slips a note into his locker to be like, meet me here at whatever time, and you think that she's doing that to her crush. Because she's getting more confident. She doesn't do that. She does it to this guy, and then you realize that it's a whole scheme. And number one, he's a creep. I mean, I don't know if he deserves to die, but he definitely deserves some kind of like eye for an eye shit.
Yeah.
But also him using his hand to touch her inappropriately and then getting his hand cut off is
there's a little bit
primo.
of poetic justice to that.
Love it.
If you have to kill somebody,
Right.
It's got to be the piece of shit.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Works for me.
Right.
So then it's like seemingly everything's better. She sews it on, and then she like does the tanning bed thing again. And every time he goes in the tanning bed, he looks less dead.
He gets hotter.
He does. He's okay. I leaned over to my friend at one point and I was like, Cole Sprouse is so hot as this dead guy, and she was like, I fucking know. Like, we were like, what the He was.
I'll take your word for it. Yeah, so then let's see. So this is like kind of like where it feels weird to me, because there's some kind of connective tissue that's not here in the plot and the shift in Lisa's character for me. Like, there should be something to tie together the tone, and I think really what it is like Lisa's not quite set up good enough at the beginning to where it's like to go from being kind of the weird girl to be like she hates people enough to like make sure that they're murdered. It's just like there's something not communicated early on in the movie. And some of that like setup just feels like it could have been done a little better, but it is nitpicky because who cares? It just happens, and this is the movie that you're watching, so you know, buckle up.
I think she needed like a purpose. Like she had no purpose to live, and she was kind of like she wasn't gonna get a guy that she wanted because she wouldn't put herself out there. She wasn't really taking her sister's pretty good advice on how to socialize. Like she had no idea what to do, and the only thing she enjoyed doing was going to that cemetery. So like when Cole Sprouse comes along and she can like fix him and also like find out what like her style is, she really like comes into her own because of him. Well, obviously it's bad that they're killing people, but like it's like I think she's just finally figuring out who she is, and like she's 18, so it's like very much that year where it's very transitory. You're like, what am I doing when I get out of high school? Like what are my goals? And she's like, I need to be hot. Like she's like, I need to be hot, I need to be outgoing, I need to get the guy. I can't die a virgin, she says like 20 times, which is hilarious. Like it's I don't know. I think that there were no lulls in the movie, because you know when you get halfway through one of these kind of movies and you're like, okay, what are they gonna do? That is exactly when it's like, wait, why isn't mom answering the phone? Like Taffy's like, oh my god, they said she never checked into the hotel, and that's like exactly after they kill the two people. So I think like it picks up, and then Lisa starts getting concerned, and like and then it kind of like spirals into the third act where it's like, what the fuck is going to happen? Like, is she going to go to jail? Is she going to get caught? Like, which I don't know. Yeah, I think it works.
I really enjoyed her transformation from like very shy and introverted to all of a sudden like she is like almost going too far the other way, where she's overconfident and she's like thinks too highly of herself, and she's starting to get a little mean. And it kind of rounds out at the end, but I enjoyed watching that.
So the other like just fantastic scene, like the scene that people are going to be talking about, is the third murder, which she stumbles across this guy that she has the hots for.
Technically, the fourth murder, because he Cole Sprouse steals a car from the old guy that's yelling at a little boy. He kills him and takes his clothes, and the little boy is like, thank you. That's
he takes his clothes?
Yep.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't
see.
know that he killed him. I thought he just hit him in the head with the stick. And
yeah.
I mean, I just assumed he was dead. Because I feel like he has this like zombie logic to him where like he has like super strength.
True.
I don't know.
Fair enough. So the penultimate murder, I guess, was Michael, the school paper editor.
No, that was the last murder. Yeah.
And she walks into this bedroom and finds out that her stepsister was actually fucking her crush, and she freaks out. And then the creature shows up and is like, I got you, fam. And kills Michael by cutting his dick off with an axe.
And it flies across the room, and you see the shadow of the dick and ball. That's so good.
I love it.
And this is great. We haven't talked about this at all, but this is a PG-13 movie, and it's like the first movie in a long time where it's like, this is what a PG-13 movie should be. It's literally
it really
like,
teeters on the edge, which is
it's
great.
like, this is made for kids in high school. It's a little too edgy for kids because it talks about sex and like talks about masturbation, but it's not explicit. It's not like it's not showing anything, which is, if you think about it, they don't show anything, but that Lisa is masturbating all the time.
Yeah, like when they when he's going through her closet, everything that's in there, and she pulls out the Hitachi, and she's like, that's a back massager. My aunt gave it to me because she thought it would make me more outgoing. And he and then it flashes to a scene of him actually massaging her back with it. And then they talk for a little bit. She talks about her mom, she opens up to him and stuff. And then she's like, so that back massager has another feature.
Some people use it on the front.
In other places.
And this is while Taffy and the dad are like trying to call the police and giving like the most hilarious descriptions of Janet, like, oh, her hair is like when you see a Labrador in the park and the sun shines on it and it has these red streaks and and the dad's like, yeah, it's brown, it's brown hair, and then you just hear Lisa go, oh my god, and they just kind of look, and it's, you know, Lisa's having an orgasm with he's wanding her. It's great. It's so good.
Yeah,
so it's like if I was like 13 watching this, I wouldn't understand that, I don't think. But like, it's like you could be 17 and you would understand that, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah, definitely. And I gotta give some praise on the dad character, because he's played the exact same character in Stranger Things. Joe Crest, which is just the most dad performance that I've ever seen on film or TV, which is just like, just very aloof and, you know, just able to chime in and, you know, be like, kids, but just completely like disengaged with everything, you know. I love his performance in this and in Stranger Things as the dad. No, I love that phone call too, and she's like, oh, it's like the sun shining on a Labrador and you see parts of red, and he's like, yeah, it's brown hair.
Green eyes. Like,
I love when she's like explaining like the dress she would be wearing and like the makeup and the earrings, and she's like, I know, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
And the perfume and shit.
Yeah.
That was the loudest laugh in the theater, I think. Like,
yeah,
she's a
just
bitch.
so matter of fact. It's like, yeah, she's a bitch.
But yeah,
so anyway, the guy's dick gets cut off, and just that whole scene was great, from like all the reaction shots and, you know, the shadow on the wall of the dick and balls flying across the room, and you know, connecting the dots of like, oh, okay, he didn't have a dick the whole time, and the scene where she's like sewing it on is
oh my god,
is great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
It's also funny when she. Oh, go ahead.
So what I really loved about this scene is it kind of like opened my eyes to how the world of this movie really was, because we're seeing it through this like rainbow color, and like everything is like kind of silly and goofy, even when they're doing these horrible things. It's like funny, and the reaction of her stepsister while she witnesses this murder is just like the most realistic. I just saw someone die in front of my eyes, and she is in shock, and she's covered in blood, and she's like trembling, and it really, like, I was looking at it through new eyes, where I was like, Lisa really is crazy. Like, she sees the world as like a totally different way from the way it really is.
Yeah, it's like her playground, because like the worst thing possible happened to her, like seeing her mother murdered. So now she's just like, I don't give a fuck about anything, and I will hurt anyone, and I will do whatever I want. And it's just great when Taffy is trembling, shaking, gripping the seatbelt in the car, and Lisa's like, I wrote something to say to you. I love you. You're my sister, and you're the only one that's ever been nice to me. And she like tries to touch Taffy, and Taffy's like freaking out. And it's great when Taffy runs out of the car, and like she's standing next to the road, and a car drives by her, and he like looks at her and then just keeps going.
Yeah. It's great. I feel like that was a callback to the end of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a great like contrast with Lisa and Taffy in that situation. And then like the walls are closing in on Lisa, and the end of the movie is basically she kills herself in the tanning bed.
Well, first she loses her virginity because she wanted to lose her virginity. Then he kills the guy she wanted to lose her virginity to, and she's like, "Why is this happening?" Then she sews the dick. Then, you know, he didn't have a dick, sews it back on, and they have sex for
well,
the
no,
first
you
time.
have it turned around because he has to sew the dick on to lose her virginity, right?
Well, yeah, and then sews the dick on, and then they have sex, and it's amazing. It's everything they ever wanted. They say they love each other, even though he can't talk. She's like, "Do you love me?" And then she's like, "I have to die. The cops are gonna come."
Yeah.
My wife melted when he put the gummy ring on her finger.
It was
She was
so
like-
cute.
Well, he has his morals. He can't have sex outside of marriage, you know?
He was born in the 1800s. Can't do it.
Yeah, so then it's, she dies in a raging fire, and then there's an epilogue where it shows her, her corpse lying on the lap of the creature who is, like, fully alive now and reading books to her. It's very, very like a goth fantasy. It's like, this is very much like geared towards goth girls. This is exactly the type of movie that'd be like, yes, death and murder and romance. I love it.
See, me and my friend at the end of it, I was like, do you think that he like revived her, or at like when it comes to that point, or do you think that that's like the afterlife? And we kind of decided that that's their afterlife together, because he couldn't talk or anything, but did the fire like allow him to, like, it's just like, it's very ambiguous.
I felt like he just kept getting better. Like he kept improving until he was like fully alive.
Yeah, I think it's implied that she was resurrected like he was.
Okay.
And he's just getting better, and she's, a mess because she just died. Yeah, so
it was sweet.
It was fun. It's a really fun movie. Like, you should definitely go see it. I'd just recommend it to everyone. It's a breath of fresh air. And Diablo Cody has made another movie that's going to be a cult classic, I think. So, All right. Any final recommendations, words about Lisa Frankenstein?
I agree. Everyone should see it. It's super funny and enjoyable.
It would be good for anyone, unless you're like 10. But like, if you're older than that, go see it.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's move on to horror movie whores. All right, horror movie whores is where we check our voicemail. Okay, so this is going to go back to January 13th. So we've got like about 8 or 9 voicemails, and about half of them are from SJI Handyman.
Hi, it's David Day, and you guys are ridiculing my live call idea, but you cut out, like, you're intentionally cutting out audio from my call that explains exactly the problem that you're complaining about. And how to fix it, which is you have you have a live call thing, but you would need to preface it for a month or two on the show. Say, hey, we're ramping up. We're going to have some live calls. Make sure to call in on March 31st at X, Y, and Z. Get ready. It's gonna be great. So you got to preface it for a couple months. You got to announce it for a couple months on the show. You simpletons. I'm done with help. I put out so much good ideas, and then they're like, "Oh, you should be administrative." Like, bitch, I was the administrative. If Bye. Sweet. All these fucking always sunny.
All right, David.
Okay.
I don't think the thing we were worried about was that no one would call in. I thought the thing we were worried about was actually filtering people onto the show and like having them in a waiting room. Like, how would we do that? But
we don't have a call board.
Right.
There's no way to. You have to like tell people when to call in.
David, you have to take the calls and then give it to us.
I mean, I do think it could be done. Here's what I would do. I would make a Discord, send out the link to anyone who maybe it'd be like a Patreon thing like send out the link on Patreon, and then obviously advertise it so they're waiting in the Discord chat, and then I could just go into the Discord chat while you guys are talking to people, and I can send them in when it's time, and you could talk to them one by one like that.
That would work. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, there's a way to do it, and I didn't say it was a bad idea. It's just logistically figuring it out.
No, I think it's a good idea. I think we should do it. I think David, has he thinks that we're out to get him, but
yeah, no. Well, David did always figure out every technical issue with the podcast, so he's got a lot to complain about.
We have had a lot of technical difficulties since he left.
That's
to be
true.
fair,
that's true.
David.
All right, next caller.
Hello, Bryce. This is Tired Sandwich from California. I'm listening to your Godzilla -1. I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know how the Regeneration looks, but this one's at max. So lizards revitalize their tails after a time period, but if a lizard was irradiated, it would boost those capabilities. Thus why he may have been able to regenerate so quickly, because he was irradiated by a atom bomb. So all the things that lizards do would have been more capable than what, it's like Spider-Man being bitten by a radioactive spider and getting powers. Like, basically, Godzilla got all the things that he had and more powerful. And that's just, that's just my thought on the thing. I don't even know why I called it, because it's kind of dumb. But, hey, have a good day. I have Max. I just giving you a hard time. I love all you guys, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
That makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's definitely true. I wish radiation worked like that in real life. Like, you go in to the dentist and they scan your teeth, and then you just can never get a cavity again because your teeth are so strong now.
Be fucking
It's
awesome. Oh my God.
Yeah. I just get radiation poisoning and die.
Yeah, unfortunately, it just kills you slowly.
Yeah.
Woo.
Hi, this is David Day, and I'm calling from the inside of a wind tunnel because I cannot understand. Okay, I have a little bit of insight into HMT and what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, you're not poor. You're not one of the poor. So I'm hearing these kids, young adults, Disney and Max, are constantly having computer issues, like fucking boomers. It's like, my computer, it's going out. And I'm just wondering where the HMT fund's coming in to get them, a respectable computers instead of these fucking bricks that they have sitting in their house for some reason. Who has a shitty computer now? Who does that? I would assume the poor. But just spring for a nice laptop. Laptops are so cheap. Quit acting like a poor.
David, I have a new nice computer, okay? I was just fucking up by using my old laptop. We're okay now.
Also, some of the episodes that got released later were actually recorded earlier, and so since those episodes, I actually did buy a new computer. So I am on a nice new computer that is running fine.
Yeah, we're not poor. And if
Actually,
we were...
Bryce won't tell me how much is in the account, so we could be poor. I asked him last time, and he says, "There's enough."
Well, I'm not going to say it on. I told you last week, didn't I?
No, you didn't. You didn't give me a number.
I didn't say the exact amount.
Well, don't say it to everyone.
Okay.
No, tell everyone. Be open with the finances.
We have thousands of dollars.
We have tens of dollars.
Yes. Hundreds of dollars. No, I mean, we've got plenty of money. If we had to spring for a new computer, we probably could.
Well, speaking of things we should buy, I think sending everyone a new round of mic cables, great idea, just in case.
Yeah.
Hey, mine is pretty new, okay?
Mine are pretty old. They're old.
Well, I'll get you a new mic cable. Just ask. No, so, all right. David, granted, I get it. It's ironic that yes, already we've solved these problems. Like they're known and we figured it out. But also, David regularly uses like a 12-year-old laptop, and also is like, maybe if I get a Chromebook, it'll work.
Oh my god!
And it's like I have seen him notoriously cheap, specifically about laptops. I think when we recorded on Riverside, he was using his desktop, but like as far as computers, like he's very value minded. So
Chromebooks suck too. That's funny.
All right, next up. Guess what?
Honestly, it's like listening to college students made up excuse to their professor about why they couldn't, it's like, oh, my grandma died again, and I couldn't get the test. It's like, my
Stop
computer's
yelling at us.
13%. I don't know, it's just wrong.
And then he cuts out.
That was one time my computer died.
Straight Todd.
Oh my god, David, we're trying our
one
best.
time that happened.
And if that was the Shutter Island episode, we recorded that back in
That was
December.
forever ago.
Yeah, so
that was a freak occurrence. That was a charging cable issue, which
it was
sometimes
yeah.
happen.
I was using a 20 watt when my computer actually needed like a 75 watt, so it was a pretty big blunder that I had been living with for years.
All right, next up.
This is Beyond the Grave, and I don't like to bring negativity or criticism to the podcast, but I'm feeling confrontational. I'm all riled up, but gently, by this, that Max saying, I don't want to dig through hours of porn for graphic sounds. Grow up! Like, also him, my wife, watch it together. But, I think a solution, you could have people call in or make it yourself. Just record the sounds. Not necessarily while you're having sex. Yeah. But just see what happens. Play it over something else.
Oh my god.
Or just listen to porn audio. Also, this Suspiria review, I didn't request it on Instagram because I said they probably already reviewed it. Look at me with egg on my face. Or within the context of the conversation, something else on my face. No, I don't do that. That's disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah, he has a good point, Max. Why don't you watch the porn with your wife?
Or we could just submit our own sex tapes, as he said.
Yeah, bring her into it. Yeah, just like...
I could bring it up and see what she says. I take it he didn't like horror DiGiorno, which
I know.
hurts my feelings.
Well, I think a lot of people loved horror DiGiorno.
We got some comments. I saw them.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to keep it, your marriage pure and not have the addictive elements of pornography, the pernicious, evil elements of pornography enter your marriage, then bring her into it and make a sex tape and use the sound effects from you and your wife having sex. Like that's a good
talk.
Wholesome idea. Honestly, the main problem with horror porno is that it really works for the audio, but for video, I just don't know how it'll work. It's a mountain that I haven't decided to climb yet.
I mean, we could just use the audio.
Everyone's putting a lot of pressure on me to find these clips, but Bryce hasn't found any either, so...
I mean, I could do it too. Let's fucking split the work, man. Yeah. Fuck it.
Anyway, some good ideas from Beyond the Grave.
I agree.
Valid points.
Next up, he calls again, same day.
Okay.
I'll be taking a vow of no sex for a while, as repercussions for that last voicemail I left, FYI. So hopefully that, it evens the playing field for all of us. But old Sydney was talking about witches being portrayed as ugly in that Suspiria movie and other movies. I propose we're watching Gretel and Hansel, that movie with the redheaded girl from It and It 2. I think it's real. Just witches are what you make of them. You could be evil and ugly. Sometimes you're ugly. Sometimes you're not. Sometimes you're doing stuff. But yeah, Suspiria. I love a simple plot that's really stands up with just everything else. The visuals. It's a good time.
All right, Being the Grave was kind of trailing off there at the end.
Yeah, I don't know if I know exactly what he was talking about there.
Yeah, I don't remember what was portrayed as ugly.
I was saying that like witches are famously portrayed as these like ugly monsters, and it's kind of like misogynistic and stuff. That was like a very I made that comment like basically at the end of the episode.
Yeah, and we just didn't listen to you because we're misogynistic and we wanted to move on and talk about our points. So
Max and Bryce hate women.
Let the men talk, sweetie. No, yeah, I mean, there's witches that are portrayed as attractive too. I mean, for a time.
Yeah.
I mean, in The Witch,
she's hot for a little bit.
Yeah, she's hot for a little bit. Yeah, whatever. Next caller.
I can't just say hello, boys anymore. I gotta say hello, boys and girls now. This is the Beast from the Northeast, and I just wanted to say that I'm with, Sydney, that VHS is a great movie, and I'm glad that you guys reviewed it, and that she has good taste. And next time she wants to do a movie that the rest of you guys don't want to do, it's probably also going to be a good movie. No shade against Max or Bryce, but if Sydney likes VHS, I gotta give her the benefit of the doubt and say that she's got good taste. And anyways, been a long time listener since the In the Earth episode, and I've been with you guys through all the iterations of HMT, and I miss David, but glad to have the new blood. And you guys are doing a great job, and keep up the good work. And I will talk to you guys in another call. See you later.
Thank you. Aw, well, I'm glad. I was thinking that a lot of the listeners would have either love it or hate it views about VHS, because I loved it, you guys hated it, so I'm glad to have support, and I'm glad you think I have good taste, because I think so too. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I know I have bad taste. No one ever agrees with me on movies, but I on that note of missing David, I listened to a pretentious review yesterday that I'd never listened to, because the movie that we're reviewing next, Bryce has already reviewed it. It's just been behind a paywall. And so I listened to it, and man, David's voice is just addicting. I miss it. I was just eating it up. I was gobbling up. It's great.
I know. I miss David too. Let's be clear. Like I miss him, and trying to get him to commit to another podcast or do something with me, and he's not interested.
He'd rather just call in and yell at us.
He'd rather call in and yell at us like an old man on his front porch.
We all miss David.
So yeah,
I miss
David's
David
not
too.
quite gone. He'll be around. He's around in spirit, and also on angry voicemail. So, all right, here's another one from Beast from the Northeast.
Hello, the Beast from the Northeast again. Just wanted to say real quick, I don't know if you guys knew or if Sydney knew this, but in the VHS movie, the part of the story where they go to the motel and with the amphibious kind of demon girl, that was, I believe, made into its own movie called Sirens. So you might want to check that out, Sydney, if you like VHS. Check out that movie. It's got the whole story behind that girl, and it's pretty fucked up. And by that, I mean pretty great. So, anyways, guys, take care of yourselves. Bye.
That's interesting.
That's cool. Yeah, it's from 2016. Has the same girl playing her. That's cool. Wow. I had no idea.
Well, yeah, but Siren is about an it looks like a mermaid. But yeah, in VHS she was a winged creature.
Well,
Siren. Let's see. No, wait. Bachelor Party. Oh, no, here it is.
Yeah.
I was looking at the wrong thing. There's a TV series called Siren that's about a creepy mermaid.
He was looking at H2O.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, maybe we'll have to review that one.
I had to hold on to this opinion during the VHS episode because I didn't want to ruffle any feathers, but Sydney's kind of a fake VHS fan because she hasn't seen any of the sequels, which most of them are better than the first one.
Okay, so my thing is that I am not a huge horror sequel person. Like I've seen the first 3 Nightmare on Elm Streets just purely because I wanted to like get into it in high school, and I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street. But I've only seen like 3 Friday the 13th movies. I saw the Rob Zombie like Nightmare on Elm Street, but I'm just like not a huge sequel person. I really don't like. If I really like a horror movie, I am always going to assume that the sequel is not going to be as good as that. So I just like am kind of opposed to it. I don't know. I will say that I've seen the second VHS. It was only once and it was a long time ago. But yeah, I don't know. Every time someone's like, oh, VHS 84 was good, VHS Viral was good, I'm like, cool. And then I never watch it. I don't know. It's just something. If I like something, I don't want it to be tainted by a sequel. I don't know why.
Yeah, horror sequels are like kind of the epitome of a cash grab. Like,
yeah.
With other genres, it's like the sequels, you know, there's sometimes a drop off in quality or sometimes they're better. But with horror, it's like usually horror movies are cheaper to make anyways. And so it's more of like, okay, we can make a factory of Saw movies now. We can make a factory of Friday the 13th.
Oh, I've seen like all the Saw movies just because they're so insane.
Yeah. I watched them all, and I think I accidentally skipped one, but I didn't notice till I was done because they just don't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah. It really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way, Sydney. I don't. There's a ton of sequels that I haven't seen. I'm not like a big franchise completist.
Yeah.
Person. It's like, you know, I appreciate the originals and maybe 1 or 2 of the sequels, but I think the franchise that I've seen most of the sequels, but still not all of them, is Paranormal Activity. That's the one that I'm like, I mean,
you haven't seen marked ones, right?
I haven't seen marked ones. I think that's the only one.
I've seen all of them except for that last one they did. That was like not really a Paranormal Activity.
No,
the one after that.
Oh, Next of Kin.
Yeah, I never saw that.
Oh, I like Next of Kin actually.
Yeah, I think it jumped the shark when they showed the ghosts. Ghost Dimension was
Ghost Dimension's bad.
Yeah, it was stupid.
Yeah. Okay, last caller.
Hey guys, this is Haley from Houston. I just got finished listening to y'all's VHS Afterpod, and y'all were talking about books. And I am here for all of the book recommendations, please, especially, well, any of y'all, but Sydney, you said you read books all the time. Like, I am here for the recommendations because I used to be such a big reader, but I haven't read in such a long time. Like, I've had this massive reader's block for years, and it kills me because I love reading, and I think what I need is just for some really good recommendations. So I'm totally down to hear some more in the afterpods, in any genre, really. I love horror, but I mean, I'm here for anything. So yeah, that's all. Y'all have a great day. Bye, guys.
I got a recommendation for you.
Yeah.
The Book of Mormon.
Great. Well, if we're gonna be serious about recommendations, I actually
I was serious.
I know you were. But I went through a really big reader's block in college, mostly due to like classes or whatever. But I got myself out of that reader's block by reading False Memory by Dean Koontz. He is a very amazing horror writer from around the same time as Stephen King. I don't know if he gets as much recognition for it as Stephen King does, but I read False Memory. It's a very long book, but it is like packed like the whole time. Like you don't want to put it down, and that got me out of my reader's block. It's a horror book. It's kind of about like this girl thinks that something is happening to her when she's like asleep, and like, you know, stuff is being moved around, and there's like similar stuff happening to her friend, and it kind of just like snowballs from there. And it is excellent. It is wonderful. It is very vivid and spooky. So I would say False Memory by Dean Koontz. That got me out of a slump. Could get you out of a slump, Haley. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, I haven't read a lot of horror novels, actually. Like, I read the Exorcist novel is great, and it's actually really close to the movie. It was kind of surprising. I also think the movie's slightly better. The other one that I've read, I mean, I guess Haunted by Chuck Palahniuk is technically a horror novel. And then I read Carrion Comfort a year or two ago by Dan Simmons. That's pretty good. He's the same guy that wrote Hyperion.
I have Hyperion on my shelf. I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah. And yeah, it's pretty good. But yeah, I don't my list is pretty short on horror novels. Other than, you know, I've read a couple of Stephen King novels, but that's an easy recommendation.
I mean, I won't go so crazy because I've read a lot of horror novels, but yeah, False Memory, great book. Son of the Endless Night, I forget who that's by, but it's kind of like an exorcism kind of book, but like ghost story kind of, like cult. It's really intense, crazy, love it. Got it at like a bargain bin in North Conway, New Hampshire, and yeah, I fell in love with it. It was amazing. Also, the Haunting of Hill House book is very short and easy to read, but also scared me. Very good. I read Dracula, the original. It's really good. It's a classic. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those are just a couple. I'm just like looking at my bookshelf now. I read a lot of horror. I read a lot of horror or sad, horrifying books that make you sad. So, and some science fiction.
Nice. So Max, what about the Book of Mormon? Okay, just that's horror movie whores. Thank you for calling in. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening. Thank you to our patrons. Do we have any new patrons?
Not right now.
I think we lost patrons this week.
We did.
All right. Well,
like
we love you
4
anyways.
Too, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, we love everyone that's still here, and we love everyone that's joined us. So we love your support. Thank you for listening and sharing the podcast with others. Please, again, if you really want to help out the show, leave a 5-star review and a review on Apple Podcasts. It really helps us in the rankings on the charts. And, you know, share it with a friend. Listen to the episodes. We love you. Call 682-253-4468 to leave a voicemail for next time we listen to them. And we'll see you later.
Bye.
Good day, sir.
that didn't sound good.